Hello, welcome to album review number 8. Today is Sounds That Can't Be Made by Marillion. I am sorry about the hiatus. Me and my girlfriend were in Amsterdam for about 5 or 6 days. So it's been a wee bit of a hiatus. But to make up for it, I'm going to review 2 albums today. I'll upload the other video later on. And I actually tried to upload this one earlier on. Well, I actually did a full video review of it, but there was no sound on it. I don't know what the problem was, but I uploaded it and there was no sound, and then I actually checked the audio file itself and my camera roll, and it was the same. So it wasn't like the internet had, processing it hadn't taken away the sound or anything. It was my fault. Well, not my fault. I mean, I don't know. It was the iPod's fault, not YouTube's fault. Basically, you can't blame YouTube for everything. But I probably should have watched a bit of the video before I uploaded it, so that was silly of me. I'll definitely do that from now on. But yeah, Sounds That Can't Be Made by Marillion, released in 2012 as the special edition. It's just second disc with some bonus tracks. I'll quickly talk about how my experience of getting into Marillion and when I first listened to them. I got into Transatlantic first, especially their first 2 albums. And anyone who listens to Transatlantic and knows about them will know they're a supergroup made up of members of 4 bands. There's 4 members in Transatlantic, made up of 4 members of other bands. Pete Trevejas, from Marillion, Royne Stolt, or Royne Stolt, if I don't know how you pronounce his first name. It's either Royne or Royne. If anyone who knows, let me know. From the Flower Kings. Neil Morse from Spock's Beard, and Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater. So after I got into Transatlantic before I got into any of those other bands, and I thought to myself, right, I'll buy the highest rated album of each of their respective bands and see what I think. I bought Misplaced Childhood by Marillion, that's their highest rated album. I bought Back in the World of Adventures by the Flower Kings. And highest rated, I'm talking about besteveralbums.com, that's the site I use. I wouldn't really know universally everybody's opinion, I bought Images and Words by Dream Theater, and Metropolis Part 2 is actually their highest rated on that site, but the reason I got Images and Words instead is because I couldn't find a decent copy of it, new, of Metropolis Part 2. It was used, and all the new ones were like 50 quid on Amazon, so I thought, I think I'll get their second highest rated, which was Images and Words, which I much prefer. I think that's a much better album. I think the more and more I've listened to Dream Theater, the less and less I like them, the more and more repetitive they sound. I have previously spoke about the fact that I'm not a big fan of Dream Theater, and about V by Spock's Beard, which is no longer their highest rated one. Their highest rated one on that site is now Snow. But I'm glad I bought V because I absolutely adore that album. But Sounds That Can't Be Made was released in 2012, and I'm glad I bought it because when I originally bought Misplaced Childhood, I wasn't a fan of it. I felt like it sounded a bit too much like Genesis, which is sort of what neo-prog is. Neo-prog is sort of, what's the word, pastiche, sort of pastiches, if I'm pronouncing that right, earlier progressive music, and I feel like Marillion's 80s stuff with Fish was like if Genesis had stayed in the more complex, more progressive vein instead of becoming a pop band. I feel like that's what they would have sounded like in the mid 80s if they had stuck to the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway sort of style instead of like the Invisible Touch, Follow You, Follow Me style that they went through. And Fish sounds way too much like Peter Gabriel, his voice, I'm afraid. So, just not a big fan of the 80s Marillion stuff. And that sort of put me off buying any of their other stuff. But then I realised that they got a new singer. I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter. And by 2012, they had released loads and loads of albums. Actually, they released more albums with the new guy. And there was quite a few albums that were higher rated than Sounds That Can't Be Made, but the reason I bought Sounds That Can't Be Made, well, one, because it had a 17-minute song on it, and I was really excited to listen to it. And I'm glad I bought it instead of Marbles. Marbles is higher rated. I was either going to buy that or Marbles, but I'm really glad I bought Sounds That Can't Be Made. I have since bought Marbles, and I don't think it's as good as Sounds That Can't Be Made. I don't enjoy it as much. So I'm glad I bought Sounds That Can't Be Made instead of Marbles, because I feel like if I had bought Marbles first, I might not have bought Sounds That Can't Be Made, because that would have been two Marillion albums bought, and I hadn't really enjoyed either of them that much. So that might have put me off buying another one. But 8 tracks on it. I have special edition. There's some bonus tracks on the second disc. And I'll just get straight into it. Track 1 is Gaza, the 17-minute opening track, and it's really, really good. One thing that makes it unique to other like modern long sort of sidelong tracks is that there's not many reprisals. You'll maybe hear a wee bit of a part later on in the song, but a lot of modern progressive bands tend to do a lot of 30-minute songs, which I don't have a problem with, but they do a bit too many reprisals. Like a lot of, like you get that with Transatlantic. Sometimes it works. Like All of the Above, it doesn't really work. I think it could be stripped away for a few minutes. Stranger in Your Soul, it works. I think the reprisal at the end. Kaleidoscope, it doesn't work, in my opinion. So, and then you get like The Great Nothing by Spock's Beard. It works. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the earlier prog bands did that as well. Quite a few reprisals, like Close to the Edge has a reprisal at the end. Supper's Ready has a reprisal. Tarkus sort of ends with the sort of introductory instrumental section. Eruption sort of ends with that, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I just think a lot of the modern bands overdo it, and I'm glad Marillion didn't do it. They stuck to a 7-minute format. They didn't make it overly long. It's exactly as long as it needs to be. It's an anti-war song. It's from the perspective. The lyrics are in first person. It's about the perspective. It's from the perspective, of someone who lives in Gaza, a civilian in Gaza, who has grown up, and he felt like when he was younger it felt like it was all a game, but now he realizes it's he lives in this absolutely horrible existence. It's quite a unique perspective, putting it from the first person point of view. If you listen to like Roger Waters' anti-war lyrics, for example, it's usually him telling us that these people are going through a really bad time. You don't usually get a more first person perspective with his stuff, which that's what he does. That's fine. That's his style of writing lyrics. There's some complex time signatures in it. It's got 7/4. Quite a few times it uses 7/4, I think. There quite a few times throughout the album. I think there's 7 beats in the bars. Some of the album you hear 7/8. But another thing I like about Gaza is it's very emotional. It's a very powerful song. A lot of grand bits, a lot of quiet bits. It doesn't go where you expect it to go. It's a very progressive album. I'd say Sounds That Can't Be Made. It's a genuine progressive album. It's not a neo-progressive album. Maybe one or two tracks are neo-proggy, like Lucky Man. I'd say that's neo-prog. But I'd say Gaza is very much progressive. It's experimental. It's trying something new. Big fan of Gaza. Brilliant opening track. Track 2 is the title track, Sounds That Can't Be Made, which is a song you just can't help but love. Seriously, if you listen to Sounds That Can't Be Made and you don't like it, then I don't know. I don't really have anything to say. I just don't see how anyone can dislike this song. It's so catchy in a good way. The lyrics are beautiful. Personally, I think the lyrics are about a feeling, and they use sounds to sort of relate it to music. It's about a feeling, pure happiness, pure joy in a totally unrestricted form. And it's sort of seen in a way that very few people in the world today experience true happiness. True happiness. Sort of touches a wee bit, in my opinion, on what the Moody Blues. Some of Ray Thomas's lyrics from the On the Threshold of a Dream album. Songs like Dear Diary and Lazy Afternoon. People just sort of go throughout their lives. They go to work, they come home, they sit watching TV, they go to bed, then they go to work. it's not true happiness. It's, you know, it's a shame. Sort of what the lyrics are about, and I think Sounds That Can't Be Made touches upon that, plus other things. I think it's talking about a feeling of pure joy that maybe very, very few people in the world could even comprehend, never mind experience. But very beautiful lyrics. Track 3 is Pour My Love, and that's probably the slowest song on the album. Maybe not slowest, but the most ambient, most sort of relaxing, chill out song on the album. My favourite song from Marbles is actually Marbles Part 1, actually, because I just really like it. It's only about 2 minutes long, but I really like it. It's sort of in that sort of chill, sort of us and them, Pink Floyd sort of vein. Songs like Marbles Part 1 do have a bit of a neo-prog feel to them. And that section in Kaleidoscope by Transatlantic, anyone who knows what I'm talking about, that's definitely got an us and them feel to it. But Pour My Love, I like it. I like the lyrics. There's some good lyrics on it. Some good visuals. Some of it paints a picture in your head. Not one of the absolute best songs on the album, but it's a really good one, I'd say. Track 4 is Power, and I'd say it's one of 2 songs on the album that aren't so good. For me, the song just doesn't particularly have anything too interesting going on in it. But there's 8 songs on the album, and only 2 of them I'd say aren't really good. So for a band so late in their career, and for an album that isn't so highly rated, I'd say that's very impressive actually. Personally, from my listening experience, I wasn't expecting to love this album anywhere near as much as I like it, because I didn't like Misplaced Childhood that much, so I bought this not expecting much, and I really, really enjoyed it. So 2 songs on the album not being so great is fine. I just don't think it particularly has anything interesting going for it, Power, and that's all I really have to say for it. Montreal is one of the 3 lengthier songs on the album, along with Gaza and the final track, The Sky Above the Rain. It has a really good part that's in 7/8. That's one of my favourite parts. And again, I'm not quite sure what the song's about. Obviously, Montreal is a city in Canada, but I'm not sure what exactly the lyrics are referring to in conjunction with it. But it's one of the more decent songs on the album, one of the best ones, I'd say. It's not too long either. Again, a lot of modern prog bands, they sort of stretch the length just sort of for the sake of it. I'm glad that Marillion don't do that. They're one of the few that I've listened to that don't do it, and they don't overdo the symphonic grand thing that Mike Portnoy and Neil Morse are definitely culprits, definitely guilty of doing. They overdo the symphonic overlong thing. Like, I don't have a problem with 30-minute songs. I love 30-minute songs. I actually have no problem with them. I just have a problem with 30-minute songs that don't need to be 30-minute songs. They could have been stripped by 5 or even longer minutes. That's my problem with them. So songs like Gaza, again, it's 17 minutes. It's exactly as long as it needs to be. And I feel like if Mike Portnoy had written Gaza, it would be about 28 minutes, and there'd be loads and loads of stuff on it that doesn't need to be there. So I'm really glad Marillion don't overdo the song length. They don't overdo the time signatures. Again, I don't have a problem with a song that has loads and loads of time signatures. An example of a song that has too many time signatures in its own context, and a song that doesn't have too many, is Mr. Sands by Van der Graaf Generator. I think it has about 90 something time signature changes, and all of them feel organic. They all work. So I don't saying that song can have too many time signatures. I'm saying a song can have too many time signatures if it doesn't work, if those time signature changes don't need to be there. But a song that has too many time signatures that just don't need to be there is The Dance of Eternity by Dream Theater. That's the most complex song ever, or at least that's what everybody says. It has 106 time signature changes, which is more time signature changes than any other song ever written. And you can tell that before they even started writing that song that they wanted to write a song that had the most time signatures ever, just so they could say that they did that. Well, Van der Graaf Generator, when they write music, it's much more organic. Every single time signature change in Mr. Sands is there for a reason. Every single one of them work. So again, that's why I'd commend Marillion. They don't overdo it with the time signatures when it doesn't work. So another very complex song is like Awaken by Yes. There's loads and loads of time signature changes in that, but every single one of them work. So I don't have a problem with 35-minute songs. I don't have a problem with a song that has 100 time signature changes. I have a problem with 35-minute songs and songs that have 100 time signature changes when it doesn't work, when it's not organic and people are just stretching the song lengths just so they can say they've written a 35-minute song, or putting 106 time signatures in just so they can say that they have a song that has 106 time signatures. It's not an organic way of writing music, and it makes the music suffer. So that's my problem with bands like Dream Theater, I'd say. Dream Theater to me are like a band that they sort of follow what progressive rock should be instead of what it actually is. You know, it's like they tick the boxes of what everybody characterises progressive rock as. But anyway, I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent. Track 6 is Invisible Ink, which is probably the closest thing to a catchy hit single on the album. And it's another one, sort of like Sounds That Can't Be Made, that even though it's really, really catchy, you can't help but love it. It's just this really nice, happy song that's got a great feel to it. It's really uplifting, it's optimistic. Again, great lyrics. I think whoever writes the Marillion lyrics, the modern lyrics, is a great job. I prefer the lyrics to Fish's lyrics, I'd say. I think Fish's lyrics are a wee bit too personal. I think Misplaced Childhood, correct me if I'm wrong, Misplaced Childhood, I get a feeling that quite a bit of it's all biographical. It works when Roger Waters did it in The Wall. It didn't work so much when Fish did it, I don't think. Not that I fully understand the concept of Misplaced Childhood. I haven't researched it enough. I'm not enough of a fan of it to have spent that much time researching it. Track 7 is Lucky Man. Not that Lucky Man, not the ELP Lucky Man. This is totally different. This is not a cover version, it's a totally different song. And I'd say it's the other one of those two songs on the album that aren't so great. It's another one, it's a wee bit too repetitive. It's only a few minutes, it's only about 5 minutes long, so it's not overly long or anything. It's just a bit repetitive, and again, like Power, it doesn't particularly go anywhere interesting. That's all I have to say about that. And the final song, track 8, The Sky Above the Rain, is a very beautiful, I think it's about 10 minute closer to the album. Has some it has a beautiful piano section, the din 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 din. I really like that. I like albums that have a really beautiful sort of climactic feel to the end. I think Iron Maiden are one of my favourite bands. Well, they're my favourite band. I think they're probably, in my opinion, the masters of that sort of ending an album with this grand finale, sort of really emotional sort of feel to it. And Marillion have done that pretty well in this album with The Sky Above the Rain. So that Sounds That Can't Be Made. It's a really great album late on in their career. Quite unexpected, and it could have happened that I'd never listened to this album. I'm sure. I mean, Marillion have done well over a dozen albums, I think, and I doubt I'll listen to them all. So I'm really glad I bought this one. I did buy it because of Gaza, because it's a 17-minute one. I did buy it because of that, but the whole album's good. Apart from those two songs I mentioned aren't particularly interesting, but apart from that, it's really good. I'll be doing my other review a wee bit later on, and that I'll upload later. So apart from that, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.